You're listening to the Community Link crew on GFM 96.6.
Welcome back to GFM 96.6 and the Community Link show. It's time now to talk to our guest in the studio. And our guest, her name is Lisa Howarth, and she's Head of Housing Services at Gloucester City Home. Welcome to GFM 96.6, Lisa.
Thank you.
Good. Right. Now, Lisa, you're Head of Housing Services, so tell us what that's all about, really.
Okay. As Head of Housing Services, I'm responsible for a number of frontline housing services teams. Those teams include the Neighbourhood Services team, which includes a team of housing officers, the Antisocial Behaviour team, our Customer Services call centre, supported housing, which covers 10 supported housing schemes and 4 semi-warden schemes, the Estate Services team, and also communications and marketing. So a range of services within that.
So right across the board, really, there. Now, the Neighbourhood Services team, just talk a little bit about those for us.
Yeah, certainly. This is a team of housing officers who are responsible for managing the tenancies of over 4,500 homes that we manage on behalf of Gloucester City Council. They're responsible to ensure that our tenants are happy in their homes and that any breach of tenancy are dealt with swiftly and promptly and fairly, and that we support our residents so they can be happy in their homes and their communities.
Okay, so are they the sort of first point of call for people who may be experiencing difficulties with their tenancies?
Yes, certainly. Without a doubt, they'd be a first point of call. We deliver a home-based service. For example, last year we carried out over 3,670 visits in the home. So we ensure that when we do have a contact with a resident, that we do arrange to visit them at home to discuss any issues that they might have.
Okay, then. So I know Gloucester City Homes, you're quite good at providing contact details and things on all your tenancy information, but can you just remind people, if they do need to make use of their local housing officer, what they need to do?
Yeah, certainly. We've actually just launched a new tenants handbook, and we've actually sent that out to every single resident. So it means that actually they can gain a huge amount of information from this booklet, and I would firstly advise them to make use of this booklet, and also make contact with the housing officer to discuss any relevant issues. There's a large section in there that covers repairs and maintenance, for instance. So if there are issues with regards to repairs, any concerns at all, it means that they can gather information and work through that.
Okay, then, brilliant. Okay, so that's the Tenants Handbook, recently launched and issued. Now, antisocial behaviour orders. I know that we have a lot of members of staff coming in from the council to talk about that, and I think the listeners have heard a fair bit about that, but you are the person that has overall management for that of you.
We have a dedicated antisocial behaviour manager and antisocial behaviour officers as well. We have 2 teams, and we have Project Solace within antisocial behaviour team, which actually manages private sector antisocial behaviour within the city as well, which is extremely successful.
That's quite new, isn't it? Is it about a year old, Project Solace?
That's right.
Yeah, because I think might have been Ashley that came in and talked about it the last time I was in, but I know that on our Young People show last week we had somebody coming in talking about Project Solace and antisocial behaviour, and also you've got a dedicated support worker now to that. Is that right?
We have a range of antisocial behaviour officers. We have one officer that's dedicated to Project Solace, along with police officers as well.
Okay. I think the person that was listening, she was talking about supporting people who were victims of the crime, but also people who were actually subject to that as well. Yeah,
that's right. We have a witness support officer.
That's it, witness support officer, that's what it was, yeah. And she was on our Young People show last week, actually. Okay, supported housing, for those people that don't know what supported housing is, because it's not something that is really out there in the public domain, really, is it?
That's right. We have 10 supported housing schemes that have a scheme manager on site there during the daytime, and we obviously have a call-out system as well for those 10 schemes. Those schemes are available for residents who are over 65 who needed some sort of supported housing, but it also enables them to live independently as well. We also have 4 semi-warden schemes, which enables residents to live semi-independently with the scheme manager calling in once a day to check that they're okay.
Okay, then, brilliant. Right, let's move on a bit now, because obviously we transmit and broadcast programmes to members of the Gloucester community. Our reach does extend outside of Gloucester, to be honest, but we're talking here about Gloucester City Homes and what it does within the Gloucester housing community. So you're not just about providing houses, you do a whole lot more, don't you?
No, we have a huge community emphasis. We have a resident involvement team, which includes 3 dedicated resident involvement officers. We support 10 residents groups. 2 of those are tenant consultative committees. So the resident involvement officers actually provides a range of support for them through coaching, through mentoring, but also through training as well. We allocate a community improvement fund to each of those residents groups to enable them to identify where money needs to be spent on an annual basis. So they talk to people in the community to gather an idea about what is important to them, what needs to be changed. And also we have a range of ways in which residents are involved with us in the community, for instance through Community Pride Days. We carry out at least 10 Community Pride Days every year within different areas to encourage communities to get involved, to take pride in where they live, and to, I suppose, increase a sense of belonging, if you like. But we also on that day make sure that we put something back, that there's a physical result of their involvement during the day.
Okay then. So tell us a bit about, because you've got Junior Wardens Scheme. Now, that's part of how you involve younger people, is
That's
it?
right. This has been a huge success. We have 2 Junior Warden Schemes. One's called the Cool Kids Crew. It's based in Matson and Robbinswood. The Robbinswood School have worked very closely with us to be able to develop this Cool Kids Crew. On a monthly basis, they carry out an inspection of their area to identify areas that need to be improved. For instance, they might identify graffiti or rubbish that needs to be removed, but more importantly, they're able to identify things that need to be improved. Also on a monthly basis, we provide a briefing sessions. They learn something new every month. For instance, we do sessions on the environment, looking after trees, food and nutrition, road safety. We work very closely with Gloucestershire Constabulary. The PCSOs, for instance, support every single event that we hold. They come out on each inspection and each briefing session as well. And we ensure that the children who get involved receive feedback on what they've done. So if they make a number of reports to us, we make sure that we get back to them and say what we've done as a result of their feedback. And also on a quarterly basis, we take them out and we reward them for their hard work.
Okay, what sort of things do you do with them?
We've taken them to Pizza Huts. We go tubing, for instance. We've been to laser tag, Angel Chef and various other places. We ask them what they want to do, and they usually come up with lots of different ideas, so we're usually sport for choice with them.
Apart from those sorts of rewards, do the young people say that it brings other rewards?
Yeah, absolutely. The Cool Kids Crew, for instance, they visited Gloucestershire headquarters, the police headquarters recently, to do a presentation on what they'd learned, and they've also been to Gloucester City Homes annual general meeting, and they talk very strongly about some of the benefits that they get from this. And not aside from, I suppose, the information that they have from the briefing sessions, they get a sense of them actually putting something back. They're able to get involved in their community. They're able to identify things and be able to put things right, and that gives them a huge sense of achievement. Good.
So I'm assuming you're always looking for more involvement from the communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you get much involvement from like the BME community in Gloucester?
Yeah, certainly. We work very hard to make sure we engage with our BME communities, and last year, for instance, we worked with World Jungle to be able to run a number of sessions with them, and also celebrating a fun day.
Okay, was that the learning when you worked for learning with World Jungle, some learning programs? Is that
that's
the
right?
one?
That's right.
Right. Okay. So that Gloucester City Homes were part of that as well.
That's
were
right.
they?
And also attached to learning, we have a Shine Learning Academy that was launched last year. We provide a number of learning opportunities for our residents and communities to be able to develop them personally, but also to be involved in the community. So it's increasing capacity, really.
Okay. So you've got quite a list of the sorts of courses that are on offer.
Yeah, certainly. We've carried out so far this year food hygiene, first aid in the work, horticultural, cookery, food and nutrition, things like creative writing and also illustration, and also about working in the community as well. What does that involve? What skills might they need? And I suppose linked to that, we also work very hard to make sure we coach and mentor people to be able to be involved at a level that actually suits them also.
All right, so that's quite... Just put a little star next to that one because I can see where that's going to come in handy. Okay, now these courses they're still on offer at the moment as we speak.
Yeah, absolutely. We run courses throughout the year. And
are they courses that are free to people?
They are free. We're fortunate to be funded in a number of ways, and that includes adult education as well.
If you are, I'm getting some emails in, I'll read them out shortly to you. If you do you have to be a Gloucester City Homes tenant to be able to access these courses?
No, you don't.
Right, so anybody can access them. Okay, and they're delivered in various places within the community.
They're held at Gloucester City Homes, Harpury College, and also a range of community centres as well.
If people are interested in accessing these courses, is there sort of a one-stop shop place where they can go and find out this information?
If they contact us at Gloucester City Homes on the free phone number, which is 0800 408 2000, we'd be able to put you in contact with a resident involvement officer that actually leads with the Shine Academy.
Okay.
And they'll be able to advise you about what courses would be suitable.
Any age limit on that?
No, there isn't.
Okay. And are the courses run during the day or during the evening?
There's a mixture, actually, of daytime and evening.
Right, so it's quite widely accessible then.
So it's quite possible those people who are calling will be able to find something that suits their needs without a doubt.
Okay. Are some of these sort of just one-session courses, or are they courses that run over a period of time?
Some of them are one session and others run for 3 to 6 weeks, for instance.
Right. Okay, then, that's good. Oh, mystery shoppers. Go on then. Tell us about mystery shoppers.
Mystery shoppers are those residents that are involved with us who like to test services. What we do on a regular basis is make sure that we audit the quality of the services we provide. So these are a number of residents who are trained by the resident involvement team to test any service area that we want to test. So for instance, they can test our customer services call centre by calling in and asking for a range of information, and what they do is they report back on the quality of service they received, and we use that information to improve our services.
Now, with the, and also you do tenant inspectors, so I'm assuming they're people that go out and do... Oh, you can tell us, it's your service, isn't it?
We have a range of tenant inspectors. Tenant inspectors we have working with us at the moment are inspecting our empty properties. So what they do is they look at properties before we let them to a tenant to check them against our minimum void standard, our minimum empty home standard, to advise us whether or not we've met that, and also whether or not we need to make any changes to improve our services. So they're absolutely vital.
Okay, so that's quite... Is that quite new, the tenant inspectors?
We've had tenant inspectors for over a year now.
Oh, right.
We're actually developing their role. We have 77 trained block and street representatives, for instance, who get involved in actually giving reports about their area. So whether or not they live in a block of flats or in a house, for instance, they were reporting on the quality of the grounds maintenance or the estate services, or cleaning if they live in a block, for instance. So we're just developing their role further to be able to inspect other areas of our service, really.
Okay. The tenant inspectors, that's quite interesting, because I know in the private sector, if you rent, and I've had experience of it, you have the estate agent coming in and having a look to see if you've left the property in, you know, a reasonable condition, and then you get a landlord who might come along and say, no, it's not, although it's in perfect working order. And I've often felt if there was somebody in the middle that was saying, actually, come on, hold on a second, it would really help. It doesn't happen in the private sector, but to know that it happens in the public sector housing is really useful and quite fair in a way, both to the tenant and to the local authority that's
We're
providing
very
housing.
clear in terms of our expectations when we expect a property to be returned to us. We do identify exactly what standard that should be returned to us in. It's inspected before we receive the keys back to the property, so if we feel that actually it has been left in a poor condition, we are able to recharge for that work before we actually set the work that needs to be done to the property. But the tenant's given the opportunity to be able to put that right before they leave also.
Do you get situations where the tenant inspectors, well, the city homes might go in and think, well, actually, no, it's not in a reasonable condition. It doesn't meet the minimum standard. But a tenant inspector might go in and say, actually, I think, you know, on the basis of this, and this, it does meet the minimum standards. Do you ever have sort of disagreements, and how are they resolved?
No, generally, we will agree on the actual standard. There is a minimum empty home standard, like I said, and that was agreed with residents anyway.
Right.
And it's changed as a result of feedback from the tenant inspectors, for instance. So we have regular meeting with our tenant inspectors so we can discuss with them some of the issues that have come up from the inspections, so that if we do need to make changes, then we can incorporate that in future.
Brilliant. Okay, so it seems like all along you have tenant involvement engaging right across. So I just wanted to sort of, here on GFM 96.6, we are constantly, particularly on the Community Link show, we speak, myself, Carol and Lisa, we talk, you know, constantly and try to encourage people to get involved, and the importance of being involved and engaged with the services, the public services you use. I mean, from a Gloucester City Homes perspective, what would you say to people listening as to why it's important to get involved with Gloucester City Homes?
It's important that residents get involved with Gloucester City Homes, because we want to ensure that we continue to provide high quality services that meets our residents' priorities, and we need to know what our residents' priorities are, but more importantly, how they're receiving those services. Do they meet their needs? What are their aspirations for the future? So it's important that they get involved with us so they can actually shape how we deliver services in the future.
Because they're the ones that are using them, aren't they?
Absolutely.
And in order to deliver correctly, we need to speak to people. People need to say what it is that works for them, really, isn't it?
Absolutely right.
Okay, and moving on from that then, because, you know, currently there's we're all in the same situation where we are facing, national government spending review, and as a result, we're having cuts locally. I know that the local authority, both county council, city council, have been working and making sure that they speak to the users of their services as regards the cuts. So do you just want to sort of give an outline of how people have been involved in if there are any further opportunities for involvement around the spending review and the spending cuts locally?
Yeah, certainly. We work very hard with our residents to make sure that all our services provide value for money. Recently, for instance, we've carried out a resident involvement impact assessment that looks at each one of our community activities to identify whether or not they're high, medium or low impact, and whether or not residents feel it's value for money. Recently, we've had a residents priorities subgroup set up from our customer forum that's been specifically working with Gloucester City Homes staff on identifying areas that potentially we could save money in, for instance. Those recommendations were made to customer forum, who agreed savings based on their recommendation. So we work very hard to make sure that our residents are involved in informing where those savings are made, to make sure that we still deliver those high quality services and that savings are made in those areas where we can make savings that will have a very minimal impact.
Sure, brilliant. And finally, announced, I can't remember if it was yesterday or today, but I was reading, I know it's been coming, and then I know there was announcements very recently. David Cameron's announced the idea, I'm not sure if it's actually gone into any legislation as yet, not as far as I'm aware, but this idea that housing tenancies, because previously you offered a housing tenancy, it could practically be for life, wasn't it? I understand that David Cameron's announced that now will potentially be cut to 2 years.
Yeah, certainly.
Okay. So is that information obviously come down to a local level, but just wanted to know really what the direction of travel for us here in Gloucester City.
Yeah, certainly. There is a consultation paper. The consultation paper is actually, that consultation period is closed. It's a fairer future for social housing. We were involved with that and we have given feedback, but it outlined a number of measures in terms of the future of tenancies, really. And you're right, we offer secure tenancies and they are lifetime tenancies for residents. What this paper outlines is the fact that we could use in future flexible tenancies, which could mean that we offer tenancies at a minimum of 2 years and a maximum of 5, or lifetime tenancies where appropriate. So the government have been requesting feedback based on their proposal, and there are a number of other proposals attached to that as well. Certainly that's in the localism bill at the moment, and that's working its way through the process, so nothing's actually set in law yet. What will happen, obviously, if that does make its way through and is confirmed, we'll have to work with our residents very closely to identify a tenancy strategy for the city to decide really whether or not a flexible tenancy is really appropriate for Gloucester residents, and if so, where would that be appropriate, really? But certainly we wouldn't make any changes to the way in which we allocate tenancies without talking to residents first and deciding where that might be appropriate.
Sure, okay. You can come back and talk about that on GFM 96.6, because I'm sure that's going to be something that a lot of people will want to be able to contribute to that debate. So no decisions made as yet. It's about talking to the tenants of Gloucester City Homes first. Brilliant. Well, Lisa, thank you very much for coming in. Just giving us quite a wide, broad outline of all the things that you do to ensure that you've got community engagement. Now, is there the one-stop number for anybody who wants to get involved in any of these aspects of community engagement in Gloucester City Homes?
It is. It's 0800 408 2000.
2000, brilliant.
We also have a number of other ways in which residents can contact us. For instance, they could use our website. There's a number of email forms on there as well.
What's the website address?
It's www.gloucestercityhomes.co.uk. We also have an email address, which is customer.services@gloucestercityhomes.co.uk. We also have a text service, so you can text us on 01778 148 2656.
So a number of ways you can get in contact again with Gloucester City Homes. I think the easiest thing to do is actually use the Gloucester City Homes website, or make that 0800 call, and then you can be probably linked through to the correct numbers.
We're actually also on GCH TV as well now, so you can use us through the interactive services on your TV. If you wanted to obtain information on your services, you could receive information that way also.
So
we're on Facebook,
GCH TV is Gloucester City Homes TV. You got your own TV channel now?
Not TV channel, there's information through the interactive TV service.
Right, okay. So do you know what channel that is on? Do you have to? How
You
do
have to go through your
access it?
interactive services on your TV.
So you press the interactive button
That's
and then
right,
it'll
and
guide you.
That's right.
I'm going to go home and try that in a bit. See where it leads me. Lisa, thank you very much for getting in contact. I will just read out very quickly that 0800 number is 0800 408 2000. And for those of you who are really good with IT, www.Gloucester City Homes. The other thing you can do is actually Facebook and Twitter. You're on Facebook and Twitter?
That's right.
And failing that, everybody can press the remote control. Is GCH TV on your interactive button on your TV. So there you go. Loads of ways of getting in contact with Gloucester City Home. I didn't realise there were those additional ones, so that's news to me. I'm off home in a bit. I'm going to go and try it out. Right. Now, thank you very much, Lisa.
Music, news, information, advice. GFM, GFM, GFM.